The nightmare was always the same. Violent shapes moving in darkness, old and ugly. The killer's mad laughter was a riddle filled with wicked innuendo.
No, please, God, no.
Slice him, dice him, shoot him full of holes, blow him to bits, vaporize him, disintegrate him. No matter what you do, they'll still be back, good as new.
No, God, no, please, Michelle. Oh, baby.
No!
You play, you pay, you bastard.
So here we are again, folks, another retrospective on this channel, and today I'm taking a deep dive into Max Payne and my own personal memories of the game. Previously on this channel I've covered the years 1998 and 2008, so today we wind back the clock to the year 2001. The more I do these retrospective videos, the more I realise gaming's past, to me personally, is so much better than it is at present. 2001 was a major year for gaming. Most notably, it was Microsoft's first attempt at entering the console market with the now iconic original Xbox. An absolute powerhouse of a console at the time, which went head to head with Sony and Nintendo. Sony and Nintendo had really been dominating the market well over a decade at this point. I fondly remember the reveal event for the original Xbox, and especially this memorable marketing campaign driven by none other than Bill Gates and the people's champion, The Rock.
I mean, The Rock doesn't impress easily, Bill, you know that, but I'm pretty damn impressed with what we're seeing here today. And considering that this Xbox at this moment is only running on 1/5 of the system's power, it's very impressive. Bill, do you have any idea what The Rock would be like if he were only running on 1/5 of his power?
Well, I would think that...
It doesn't matter what you think, Bill. I'm sorry, Bill, it's just a force of habit. Rock apologizes. No, The Rock, even at 1/5 of his power, would still blow everybody out of the water, just like the Xbox. It is truly the future of video games, and I'm very excited to simply be a part of it if you smell what The Rock is cooking.
It was really a masterstroke by Microsoft to try and generate some real interest and sell their console to the market. The Rock was really charismatic, as he always has been. To know, 2001 in general was an incredible year for Sony PlayStation 2. Which was the console of choice for me personally at the time, but bear in mind I'm primarily a PC gamer. As for the OG Xbox, I actually didn't manage to pick up an original Xbox until 2002, so all I could do was largely observe as a new console launched, and everyone raved about Halo Combat Evolved. If you combine what launched on that year for consoles, we had some absolute massive games. The two games I clung to the most were Metal Gear Solid 2 and Grand Theft Auto 3. One being the sequel to one of the best PS1 games ever made, and the other starting pretty much an open world revolution that has since shaped the open world gaming space today as we know it. It was also my first time attending a midnight launch event. I remember waiting in a queue outside a rental store in Ireland known as Xtravision at the time, for 30 minutes plus outside for my copy of MGS2. Never had I seen such a crowd for a game. You have to know Ireland didn't exactly have many gaming retail outlets outside of the capital back then, so to have this type of event in my hometown was something really special. Outside of MGS2, I was eagerly awaiting another game. A game at the time in development for a very long time. A game that had changed its look multiple times over. A game previewed multiple times in some of my favourite PC gaming magazines such as PC Gamer and PC Zone. That game was of course Max Payne. I especially remember this trailer that I played over and over from the demo disc I obtained from PC Gamer magazine.
Agent Alex Balter was found brutally slain at the construction site of the new...
Balter had been shot repeatedly from point-blank range. A suspect was seen leaving. It's after the shots had been fired, and according to...
LAPD is currently in pursuit of Max Payne, a repeat felon
believed to be on
This game was grim, it was gritty, nothing like I'd ever seen before, and the hype surrounding it at the time was immense, but it was also filled with a lot of frustration. It was published by 3D Realms, bear in mind, who would historically become one of the most infamous companies for game delays. Duke Nukem Forever, cough cough. The game spent 5 years in development, and it went through 3 different iterations. This video you're watching now would have been the second iteration before the real version that we got in 2001. On July 23rd, 2001, it finally launched on PC to critical acclaim. Max Payne was the game to own on your PC, and it was also the game to push your PC hardware to the limit. Unfortunately, my problem at the time was I didn't have a PC powerful enough to run the game. I had to wait a whole year to get my hands on it, and not for the system I had envisaged to play it on originally. Christmas 2002 arrived, and my then girlfriend, and now wife, Mrs. Hapes, would purchase me an Xbox and a copy of Halo for Christmas. Now I had a bit of cash lying around for an extra game, so of course I was going to pick up the Xbox copy of Max Payne. I had been waiting 6 years at this point to play the game. And the Xbox, as I said, was a really powerful console at the time, so it was great for folks who really couldn't afford a high-end PC. So let's move on to the game itself. Now my intention here is to keep this relatively spoiler-free, with some minor reveals at best. First and foremost, who is Max Payne? Remedy could not afford actors other than main voice actors such as James McCaffrey, who voices Max Payne, but ultimately his likeness is directly based off Sam Lake, who is actually the creative director and lead writer for the series, believe it or not. Anyway, more importantly, one might ask, what is Max Payne? Max Payne is a third-person action game, and one might argue the inventor of what is known as bullet time. People state that bullet time was popularized by The Matrix in '99, but I don't believe that to be the case. Max Payne was actually directly influenced by John Woo's movies Hard Boiled and The Killer. And you have to remember that Max Payne was in development since 1996, so well before the Matrix movies ever released. During the early stages of the game, Remedy have a really early Easter egg in the game referring to John Woo himself.
It's me. Open up. Let me in, quick.
Not so fast. The password. John Woo.
Come on. Okay, John Woo.
All right. Come right in.
As for the action, it plays and controls beautifully even 21 years later. I've probably beaten this game 20 plus times, and I can still go back for another playthrough easily. The primary mechanic of Max Payne, as mentioned, is bullet time, and this can be controlled manually by a simple button press of the controller, or you can move yourself into a really cool slow motion action dive with the left trigger. Seriously, nothing is more badass than emptying out a clip on an enemy, and the camera slows down and you can see the bullets and blood fly everywhere. Every fight plays out dynamically depending on what weapon you choose and how you approach each battle. It's also a game about conservation of your bullet time. You have a limited amount, remember, and it recharges whenever Max kills another enemy or he comes under pressure from gunfire. You cannot afford to play this completely gung-ho. You need to be clever about how you approach each fight. Like, this game is hard to note. A few well-placed bullets from the enemy and you can just die in an instant, so make sure you hammer them quick saves often. Max Payne also tells an incredibly well-rounded story. Nothing majorly complex, but it's really emotive. The actual locations of the game feel real, so it makes the game feel more grounded. Some early locations, such as a bank robbery, a seedy nightclub full of gangsters, a gothic nightclub, they're all great scenarios for shootouts. The main driving force between each gunfight, bear in mind, is of course the powerful story. As I've gotten older, I've grown to appreciate its story more. Also due to the fact that I myself am a father and a husband, so it became much more relatable. You can honestly fully understand why Max turns stone cold killer in the seek for revenge for the people who killed his family. Like, there's no better driving force for his slow descent into depression and madness, how angry he is. The most unique aspect of the story is how it's narrated as well, through the use of comic book strip style cutscenes, and its heavy use of metaphors to portray a sense of kind of foreboding. All the dialogue is incredibly well written and delivered excellently by all the voice actors, in particular that of course of Max Payne, who's played by James McCaffrey.
I woke up in a bad dream. My head felt 2 sizes too small for my brain.
Max Payne, I envy your name.
And the killer was smiling.
Pleased to meet you. I'm Frankie the Bat Niagara.
Niagara, as in you cry a lot? He had a baseball bat and I was tied to a chair. Pissing him off was the smart thing to do.
Like, you can literally feel his pain, no pun intended, as he hunts for the killers of his family and the truth behind the reason why they were killed in the first place. It's one of the very few games, like my favourite movies for argument's sake, where I have no problem sitting through the cutscenes and watching them all unfold again, even after beating the game about 20 times before. It's paced brilliantly, as I said, and these story cutscenes, they break up the action set pieces and gives it each new area a chance to breathe. Now, to be fair, not all of it holds up very well. The dream sequences, while in essence they're absolutely brilliant from a story point of view, actually playing them right now is painful because they are pretty much glorified platforming sections and you cannot see anything. Whenever I'm replaying the game, it's like, oh no, the dream sequence is gonna happen. I gotta jump around like a fool and die a million times. That's literally what happens. Absolutely hammering the quick save to get through these pieces. But as I said, they're great for driving the story. But recording the footage for this video and critiquing the game as it is right now, they're probably the most annoying part for me. It is minor, but bear in mind it is worth stating. Anyway, due to the success of Max Payne, it spawned 2 sequels. Max Payne 2, which was made directly by Remedy, and then Max Payne 3 years later, which was actually developed by Rockstar. Both of those games are incredible experiences also, but the best games to me can still consider 1 and 2. This was truly Remedy's vision. I repeat though, to be fair to Rockstar, they done a great job bringing Max Payne 3 to light while staying as true to the game's roots as possible. My only issue with Rockstar for a long time was the series stayed dormant for 8 years after the release of Max Payne 3. You will, however, be glad to know that Max Payne is returning, and Rockstar have agreed to give Remedy the task in bringing Max Payne to the current generation, with full remakes in the works. Hopefully they can do the series justice again by leaving the originals intact and then reimagine the remakes from the ground up. If they treat these maybe like the recent Resident Evil remakes, these could be a great success. The future again for Max Payne finally looks bright. Not for the character, more so for the series itself. Maybe one day we might actually also see a Max Payne 4 if these remakes are an actual success. Anyway guys, that's it for today's video. I put huge hours into these retrospective videos. I would really appreciate it if you could leave me some feedback in the comments and share this video where possible, and hit the like button for me. And also, if you are new to this channel and you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. Until next time guys, take care.